This is an ongoing project for a national healthcare chain that involves going to multiple locations, focusing on still, primarily for web. And the imagery is going to be a mixture of headshots for staff, portraits, action shots, interior, exterior, and it usually takes about a full day because of their schedule. I'm going to keep my kit very simple and highly mobile. Sony a7R II S2 3 lenses, 2 Interfit 500 watt heads, and a 30-inch flapjack. We like to get there early to show the tech capabilities in empty rooms, because later on in the day these get really high traffic. Color balance is a little all over the place here. There's a lot of mixed light sources. I'm using an app on my phone to try to meter color, because the internal white balance capabilities on my generation of cameras is just not very good. You have to be really flexible on locations like this, and as I mentioned before, your kit has to reflect that, because there's going to be a lot of back and forth between the different scenarios that they need based on their schedule and the patient's willingness to be in advertising photographs or not. And the biggest challenge is trying to see through all this PPE with a bunny suit and with what feels like about 20 pounds of lead over the top. It makes it pretty hard just to bend down, but everybody has to deal with it, so after the first couple locations I'm kind of used to it now. The second is space constraints for things like headshots. I mean, you don't want to take up the high traffic areas that they need for patients, so we have to work in things like lunchrooms or back rooms or hallways, and these tend to be also high traffic during the periods when we're shooting. Like, let's say we're doing headshots right here, like during lunch. Going to be a lot of people coming in, walking back and forth. You can still make it happen with something simple like 2 heads off the ceiling, but it's not going to be easy. First thing I do in post is go through the whole project and delete all the bad shots. When you look at these rooms, each has a different light source, even though they're all roughly around 3000 to 41K. I want the color balance to be uniform across the whole body of work so nothing stands out. And that means that most of the individual scenarios, it's not going to be exact color science for that scenario, but it has to be the best adjustments to make it match everything else as a whole. And then I get into the specifics, things like cropping, lightening and darkening certain areas, and any other fine-tuning adjustments that need to happen when areas are not evenly lit. And while all that's good in a batch-capable program like Capture One, real final post-production has to be in Photoshop. I like their color science better than anything else. There's just capabilities there that don't exist in the batch-type programs, especially in terms of this project for retouching headshots. After all is said and done, I've looked at each image and went over it about 3 times. Final delivery will be in Dropbox. It's going to be a folder anywhere from 3 to 6 gigs. On a full day, it'll have anywhere from 150 to 250 images. And all those scenarios will be heavily curated. You don't want to overwhelm the client with just way too many choices. It's super annoying. You want to narrow that down to only the specific images that they would use for advertising, only the things that work. And it takes a little bit of time and experience to know what that is. But if you give them that as the end result, they'll love you for it.